Welcome to the Milestones Podcast, where we engage, inform, and encourage parents in strategic moments in their families' lives. Whether your family is close to the Lord or far away, this conversation is for you.
All right, families, welcome back to the Gardendale Milestone Podcast. I am honored to be here with another basic milestone with my friends here. We've got Madison Terry.
Hey, Ryan. Good to be here.
Good to be here, too. And then we've also got Sabrina Harris.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, there she is. There she is. And then we got Natalie Hawkins.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you for Natalie for being here. So we mainly want to speak to our single parents on this one and let them understand that there is value in the time as a family. There's value in these kids and these milestones and these victories that they get to achieve. So we'll be speaking to kids and teens in this podcast here. So thank you for joining in, and we look forward to helping you guys as you continue this journey on these milestones. So let's hear from Sabrina and Natalie here and just kind of talk really the basics of a single parent and the importance of stability and security for your kids. So how can you speak to the parents on that are listening in?
I'll start.
Go ahead, Sabrina.
Well, from my perspective, me and my kids, it was very important for me to establish stability with my kids because at the end of my relationship with their father, there was some physical abuse. And my son, being 5 at the time,
Yes, ma'am.
witnessed that.
Yeah.
So, and there were some things that happened
Sure.
during that time,
Sure.
trying to make sure that they were safe and they were okay
Absolutely.
with what was going on. So, and that was also during the time that I was getting myself back in the church. I had only been back in the church for maybe 3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And so it was a struggle for me,
Sure.
especially spiritually, trying to relate to my kids
Yes, ma'am.
that they were safe.
That's right. Yeah.
And that, and I knew that they were fine far as, their
Sure.
father was concerned. I didn't think he would ever hurt them, but,
Yes, ma'am.
but them worrying about me, especially my son. My
Sure,
son
sure.
was like my protector,
Yes, ma'am.
even at 5. So
Good job, son. Good job.
So they constantly, worried about me, and I was like, "We're fine, we're good."
Sure. Yeah.
So oftentimes I would, just talk to them about different things. I would, talk about different situations,
Yes, ma'am.
about how we would handle it,
Sure.
and just random. We'd just be riding in the car and I think of something stupid,
But that's
And-
still good, having those conversations in the car and letting them continue to learn and grow like that. Absolutely. Yeah.
and they really, now that they're older, they really, find value in all that. They really understand why I did the things that I used to do,
Sure.
because I didn't want them to grow up with so many questions like I did.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I wanted to do things different from the way that my parents did, and
Yes, ma'am.
not faulting my parents. I mean,
Sure,
we're all
sure.
learning in the parent game when we
You're looking
when
at
we
two
start-
dads that are still trying to figure it out over here, too.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, when it's just me and the 3 kids, sometimes I get a little nervous. But, one of the great things that I would just to encourage you, Sabrina, is, kudos to you for sticking with church and getting back in. I think that GFBC, we're blessed to have all kinds of families.
Yes. Yep.
And so there may be a single parent that's listening and they need community. They need people in their life that are in a similar type of situation. And I'm grateful that there are
Sure.
those kinds
Absolutely.
of families at GFBC. There's a place for everybody.
Madison Terry, single minister over here, plugging in life groups right there. Give a holler out. Madison Terry. All
Well,
right.
and I'm grateful for the different hearts of leaders.
That's right.
I'll mention Debbie Harrison and just the heart that she has for women. there's the ministry that she does for the single mom. I can't do that. As a guy,
I can't either, brother.
Yeah, I tell you what, man. But just a blessing that she is. And there's other women who mentor and help guide and disciple. And so I'm just grateful for that. Yeah. And just the stories of people finding community and a place to belong.
And thank you for sharing your story, Sabrina. And again, how you were able, not only for your kids and for yourself, but even to find, like Madison said, a community to get involved in and a church to have a place of value that God continue to bring in them. So, Natalie, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think stability and security is important for any kid, but especially a kid who is living in a single-parent home. For my daughter, personally, she was real young when her father and I separated, and then COVID happened, and there was like no stability anywhere, but kind of coming on the other side of that, like we had to find a routine, a structure, and one thing for her, like bedtime was really hard for her, and it still is at age almost 8, but
Tinley's the same.
Yeah, I think it was around like 5 years old. Her father and I had been separated for a year or so, and she was still really struggling to go to sleep. And I came across Psalms 4:8, in peace I lie down to sleep, for you alone, Lord, keep me safe. And we started saying that every night. And it was about a year ago, she saw it. We were reading the Bible, or she saw it, I don't know, on a screen or somewhere. And I don't even think that she realized that was a Bible verse. It was just something we would say every night.
Sure.
And that's become like a routine for her. And now that she's getting older, I'm able to teach her, that you can pray scripture. And that's just something, that makes her feel secure at night.
That's right.
To say that.
And I think that's encouraging to all parents, to speak scripture, to pray with your kids. I think that's a very important, secure, and stable thing to do every night, because then they look back on it as they get older and they remember those special times that they spent with the parent, and then also to realize that, hey, wow, this whole time I was speaking scripture.
I was praying scripture.
I was praying scripture the whole time.
What else can I pray, to help me in this situation, like later in life?
That's
So.
Right.
Yeah.
With my kids, I used to, we'd have our little Bible studies at the house, but we also, we had game night. And one of the things that I used to love to do was take the game of life, and I would apply scripture to it.
Yeah.
The game of life is already long.
Sure, it is.
I've actually never played the game of life.
Wow.
I'm living life, just haven't played the game.
There you go. Well, my son's a big fan of Mario, so he had to have the Super Mario Life version of the game. So,
yeah, and they really appreciated that. They liked the spin that I took on it. I was like, well, what would God say in these situations if this and this and this happened? Because it really helped me as well, because during that same time that me and our father broke up, I lost my job.
okay.
First time I had ever lost
Yes,
a
ma'am.
job.
Yeah.
And it was difficult. I had to... it was a challenge for me spiritually, because me, getting back in the church, it was like I had to learn how to trust God in all situations.
Absolutely.
And trying to relay that to my kids.
Yeah.
During that, I had to show them that I could be strong.
Absolutely.
And how they could be strong in the midst of all of the challenges that we were going through
That's right.
at the time, because it was hard.
Sure.
It was hard, and I didn't want them to see how I felt. I actually felt like a failure. So I didn't want them to see that. No, they cry. Oh,
No.
teary-eyed.
It's all right.
But it was, going through that and teaching them in those ways about how do you get through
That's right.
if you lose your job, because that's part of life.
And you did an awesome job of that,
Thank you.
by the way. I mean,
Well,
both of y'all have.
One
Go
of the
ahead,
things that comes to mind, Sabrina, as you're sharing, and Natalie, as you're sharing, I would imagine that it's hard to bring somebody else stability when you're going through so much instability.
Yes.
So I'm just curious, what would you say to maybe that single parent that has just entered into that unstable situation, and their child has instability, the parent has instability? How why would you say, hey, getting involved in church is important, having a community? Like, how would you encourage that parent?
I would say, for me, God was the only way that I could get through it.
Sure.
And it was important for me. I mean, I think I was in the church so much that, it was like every time the door opened, I was there.
Sure.
Because I needed to be there. I needed to feel that community and that love, because oftentimes I didn't know which way to look. And so my only refuge was to go to God and to the pastor and
Sure.
to his wife and whoever would listen, because
Right.
I was struggling,
Sure.
to get through. So going to the Word and having community there is like, I mean, I really just don't see how you could
can make it without it.
without it.
Yeah.
Because
Natalie,
it's
Yeah,
very
I mean, you
important.
definitely can't help someone if you're not helping yourself, and whether it's through counseling or through church, I mean, you have to have a support system. You have to be investing in yourself and working on yourself
Yeah.
before you can lead your child.
it kind of reminds me, if you've ever been on an airplane, they walk you through the
Right.
process. Hey, if the air mask falls,
Yeah.
put it on yourself before you put it on the person next to you. And it always seems so wrong. Like, well, of course I want to put my child in front of me. But I think parents, and this is for any kind of household, single parent, married parents, if we're not in the Word, if we're not in community, if we're not, prioritizing our faith in the Lord, we can't pass it on. Pastor Kevin talked about this recently. Of, hey, passing that baton. If we don't have it, we can't pass it on.
And that's exactly what kind of I was hoping that we could all speak to these parents about, is the value that God finds in us. And how do we find that ourselves as parents? Is sometimes it's going to church, getting involved in a community, being involved in a life group, reading His Word, like you said, making sure that it's like that whole plank in the eye thing. You can't get the dust out of their eye until you can get the plank out of your eye, and that's important not only for yourself but your kids as well.
Right.
So let's talk a little about emotional connections and how it's important for parents to connect with their kids emotionally, because like you said, sometimes you might be trying to hide those emotions that you yourself are going through so that your kids aren't facing that themselves. But maybe sometimes when these kids are reaching for these milestones or these victories in life, maybe they're a little scared, or maybe they're not showing their emotion or willing to open up to you, maybe a single parent, because of other things going on around them. So how are some ways that you could share with parents to make sure that you're connecting emotionally with your kids? Natalie?
I mean, there's sure emotions that you should keep to yourself, but something I lean into is really not hiding my emotions from Madison. Recently I lost my aunt, and I could tell there was a night she just was really upset for no reason. And she was just crying, big alligator tears, and I knew what was going on inside of her. But of course she kept saying, I'm fine, I'm happy. And I'm like, you are literally crying. And, it was in that moment that I just like scooped her up, hold her, and I'm like, I miss her too. And, I started crying. I'm sad. And like me being able to tell her the emotions I was having gives her kind of, I don't know, a way that she can use those words and have those emotions back.
Helps her open up, realize.
Because she didn't know what she was experiencing. I did, because I was experiencing it too. But, if I would have just said, you are fine, quit, dry it up or whatever.
Because when we kind of react like that, they tend to learn to kind of shut down. It's kind of like you were talking about earlier. You've taught the kids things and they see it as they grow up. And if we miss those moments, because these are little milestones too. I mean, for a child to learn to open up and to share their emotions, that too is a victory that you're celebrating with your child. Because if we don't let them open up and share, then maybe down the road they just learn to kind of shut off.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't open up. But
Right.
anything else on that?
Yeah,
Sabrina?
I always try to keep, conversations going, with my kids, so they feel free to just talk to me about anything.
That's right.
And not feel like they needed to hide. not that I was trying to be their best friend, because they knew Mama better than that. But I wanted them to feel comfortable talking to me, because I didn't feel comfortable talking to my parents.
Sure.
And so I wanted them to be able to come to me and say this and that and the other. But, but there's moments where my daughter, she had more ailments than a 90-year-old person, and so she come and she'd be like, this is hurting, and I'm like, suck it up and go. You're not.
And it's okay to have those moments too every now and then. Yeah.
But she also knows now, especially now, she can come to me.
That's right.
And they're about to be 25 and 27 this year, and they don't leave my side. And so they come and talk to me about whatnot, and I implement to them. And actually, we were just talking about, telling them how God is very important.
That's right.
And even though they have gotten out of church for different reasons, not because they're out in the world doing anything. It's just his is job, and hers is just friendships. Not. But they're having some issues. He's got work, and he's like, I don't know how to deal with this. And I was like, well, God, helps us in all of these situations.
Yeah.
And my daughter has a problem processing grief. And so I had to, we just recently lost somebody in the family this weekend. And so she wanted to leave work. And I was like, baby, you can't do that every time something happens. That's life. Yeah. You got to learn how to get through those things. And I said, and that's where God comes in, and he helps us and get through, even in the midst of chaos and, and things. And so, they, it doesn't stop.
It doesn't, and that's exactly what you're saying. Whether for a single parent or like Madison, even for parents in general, we can see these situations where we're learning to help our children make those choices, to give them the power to be able to do that. Whether it's opening up to cry and be honest and open up, or just to call you, even though they're 20 and older and stuff like that. Because I can admit, probably when I was about that age, I probably wasn't calling my mother first for an answer or anything like that. I was probably just trying to figure it out myself. So the fact that they're right there by your side calling, and they're making that choice themselves is an incredible ability that God has given them. And that encourages us to know that even when maybe they're not involved in church at that much as maybe they were, but God is still there, and he's still speaking to them and moving in their lives, and using you to continue to spread that word into them. And it continues to create value for their life, that the choices that y'all help them make as they're growing. So, Madison, anything else on that, brother, or the importance of maybe quality time that we've kind of talked about here?
Yeah, I think, there's probably a lot of single parents who quality time is just hard. Yeah. With balancing schedule. You drop a kid off at school, you go to work, you get home, you have all the tasks that you already have to do, and you're trying to balance that. And so I think there's probably just maybe an encouragement, and maybe, Natalie, you can encourage somebody. Here's what I would say, and then I'd love for you to, I would just say there's probably a lot of single parents out there that need to hear, hey, you're doing really good.
Yep.
You're doing better than you think you are.
Yeah, a lot better than you think.
There maybe somebody that feels guilty because of the lack of time, but they're trying, they're doing everything, and I think that's where trust that God is working even when you don't see it. So yeah, Natalie, what would you say to that parent?
I mean, you are doing better than you think you're doing, and you just have to find creative ways to work in that quality time and come to really realize what matters and what doesn't. I mean, it's heavy to every day you're responsible for everything. The house, the pets, the kid, I mean, the emotional connections, the quality time, I mean, everything kind of falls on you. And something, to me, sitting down at dinner at the table, the two of us, or if we have family over, was really important to me. Like, we're not going to have the TV on. We're not. And what I realized is she hates it. Like, she wants to eat as fast as she can. We're not having any, I mean, sometimes we're having really good conversations, but usually she's trying to eat as fast as she can so that can I go play, and then I'm sitting there still eating alone. So we've started playing games while we're eating. Like, it was a card game or whatever, and then we're still at the table 2 hours later, and then it's 9 o'clock, and I'm finally cleaning up the kitchen.
Have you played Life yet, though?
We have not, but we may tonight. But yeah, just finding creative times to or creative ways to find that quality time with your kid, and not being so. I mean, you need structure, but letting go of some things.
I think everything she said was great, and I think the thing that stuck out to me is saying it's a heavy load. It's real heavy, all this stuff, and so I think just to kind of finish it off, is there maybe something as far as maybe things that y'all can remember that you've kind of prayed for, maybe some help that you can give some parents out there, moms or dads, things that they can just be praying for, whether it's, hey, God, will you just, take this burden off to me, or I come to you where, heavy laden, and you will remove that from me because it is easy, and he takes that load off of us. Or is there other things that they could be praying for to continue to help them where maybe it's not so heavy, or, you're not trying to hide anything from the kids, but God helps you to open up and have that great time with your kids to create value for these milestones and victories. But any guidance on prayer and the importance when it comes to being a single parent?
Oh my gosh, I prayer is so vital. There wasn't a moment I wasn't praying about something.
Sure.
I mean, to the smallest of things, it didn't matter. I was taking every little bit to God. Yeah. Because I didn't know what to do. And I totally leaned on him to help me to get through it. Because to me, he was kind of the only place that I could go to talk about my frustrations and the things that I was feeling about not feeling enough, or
and he wants us to be honest with him. However we're feeling our emotions, he wants to hear from us, even though he knows it. We should always be open and honest with him. Anything else, Natalie?
Yeah, I mean, prayer is definitely important, and there's always different things that I'm praying for. My daughter, one thing that I've prayed over her probably since the day she was born is that the Lord would just protect her, and that he'll protect her mind, her body, and her soul. And I don't really even know where I got that from, but, just leaning on the Lord for her protection. And of course, like during the pandemic, I'm praying a lot for her body, like protect her from this virus. And, now as she's getting older, I find myself praying more for her mind against, bullying and other people telling her who she is. And then also for her soul, that it'll be open to the gospel. And just probably in the last 6 months, I've started praying that out loud where she hears it. It's something I would sneak in and kind of whisper over her after she was asleep. But now, because I want her to know, like, my prayers for her.
That's what I was just about to say.
Eventually how God answers those.
It's important for them to not to for them to pray, but also see you pray, and y'all pray together. Because they need to see that relationship.
That's right.
And how important it is, and there were times I purposely would go in the living room, and I would have my prayer time. And because I'm a crier and I'm a crybaby, but I would a lot of times I would end up crying because oftentimes prayer goes into worship and and stuff, and because I'm thankful because of everything that he's brought me through. And so a lot of times my little protector, he would come in and say, "Mama, you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm okay, baby. I'm just worshiping God."
That's right.
And it's important for them to see those moments.
That's
to
right.
know that it's okay. And it's okay to cry.
That's right.
And let it out, and know that God is, hearing everything
He does.
that
He does.
we say to him.
That's right.
So
And I think Natalie got her prayer thing about mind, body, and spirit. She probably saw it in one of those right rooms where they have those, posters up to kind of give you hope and guidance. So, y'all didn't think that was very funny, but anyways.
I was trying to
like
follow
the
you.
like the
You talking
cat,
about, like
like the cat that's hanging from the bar and it has like the silly little.
Did you
quotes
say a
on it.
weight room, like weight training?
Yeah.
I got you.
okay.
Mind, body, spirit. Yeah.
What did
I
y'all
missed
think?
the weight.
Like a waiting room? Or,
Doctor's waiting room.
yeah.
In the waiting room.
And they have those silly ones in the doctor's office sometimes.
Yeah, they
too.
do. They do.
But
Some
anything
funny
else
pictures.
though, Madison?
I think my biggest thing, I've already said it, and it's just don't do it alone. Like, don't do it alone. You know, a lot of single parents feeling alone. Hard to get kids to church on Sunday. Hard to get them there on a Wednesday. But just being around some other people that we can learn from and just being together, I think is just vital.
That's right.
yeah.
And to all you moms and dads out there that are single parents, y'all have achieved milestones and victories yourselves. So may you know that. May you see value in that. And these kids themselves, we are honored as a church to walk along beside you as these kids achieve milestones and victories. And again, if you're out there, if there's any questions you have about singles and single parent ministry, Madison Terry, be the one to talk to. And we'd love to entertain your kids for a little while, but not just entertain them, but pour into them, teaching them how to pray, how to worship. And it's all right to come to Children's Church and cry a little bit too. We're there to help kids through that as well. So thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Natalie, for tuning in to us. Madison, I greatly appreciate it. So parents, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And thank you for celebrating these victories with your kids. And we look forward to helping you again with these podcasts down the road. So we'll see you next time.